I was holding a paper plate of pastel cupcakes at a stranger's baby shower when a woman I'd never met grabbed my arm, pulled me into the center of the room, and announced, "Everyone, this is my boyfriend Ethan, and the father of my baby." I froze. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like the floor vanished under me. I didn't even know her name. Dozens of eyes landed on me, blinking, smiling, waiting for me to wave. The pregnant woman's hand clutched mine so tightly I thought she'd break my fingers. I had two choices: play along or blow up whatever madness was happening. And then my phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from an unknown number. It said, "Touch her, and I'll put you in the ground. Derek." My hands went cold. Here's how it all started. I'm Ethan, 27, from Denver. I'd just come back from a brutal week at work. I manage construction crews, which basically means I juggle angry clients and exhausted workers all day. My buddy Greg had begged me to come to his cousin's baby shower at a church rec hall on the south side. Free food, free beer, and cute single women, he promised. I wasn't in the mood for streamers and diaper cakes, but fine. When I got there, it was the usual chaos. Paper decorations taped to the ceiling, a giant table of crock pots, toddlers chasing balloons. I was heading toward the chips when two women, maybe mid-30s, locked eyes on me like I was prey. One of them, visibly pregnant, walked right up, hooked her arm into mine, and said in the sweetest voice, "Play along, please, just for today." And before I could blink, she dragged me into the spotlight. Her name was Lauren. Everyone clapped. People came up, hugging me, congratulating me, shoving cake into my hands. Someone even yelled, "Way to go, Dad." Lauren kept squeezing my arm, smiling through clenched teeth. I was too stunned to do anything except nod and mumble thanks. It wasn't until 10 minutes later, when we were cornered near the punch bowl, that she whispered the truth. "My ex is insane. If he thinks I'm alone, he'll show up. Please, just act like you're mine today." I wanted to laugh. I wanted to say, "Lady, you picked the wrong random guy for this stunt." But then my phone buzzed, that text from Derek. And seconds later, another one. "You think you can replace me? I'm already outside." I nearly dropped the cup in my hand. At exactly 3 p.m., the front doors slammed open so hard they banged against the walls. A tall guy with a shaved head stormed in, chest heaving. I knew instantly this was Derek. His eyes scanned the room until they locked onto Lauren and me. He marched forward like a bull, ignoring the stares. "Lauren, what the hell is this?" His voice was low, dangerous. Lauren's grip on me turned into claws. "Leave, Derek. You're not welcome here." But Derek's eyes snapped to me. He looked me up and down, then leaned in so close I could smell the cigarette smoke in his jacket. "You think you can play house with my girl? With my kid?" Every muscle in my body screamed to swing at him, but there were kids everywhere, people filming, and I knew one punch would turn me into the villain. So I forced myself to stay calm. "You should go," I said quietly. And that's when Derek smiled. Not like he was amused. Like he'd already won. He backed away slowly, hands up, eyes never leaving mine. And as he walked out, he muttered, just loud enough for me to hear, "You have no idea what you just signed up for." The room buzzed with whispers, but Lauren plastered on a fake smile and started opening gifts like nothing had happened. I couldn't breathe. My phone buzzed again. "Check your car." When I ran outside 20 minutes later, all 4 tires on my truck were slashed. And tucked under the wiper blade was a folded piece of paper with my home address written on it. My legs went numb. Derek didn't just want to scare me. He knew where I lived. That was the first hour of pretending to be Lauren's boyfriend. And I already knew. This wasn't going to end with balloons and cake. I barely slept that night. Every sound outside my apartment made me jolt upright. Headlights sweeping across my blinds, footsteps in the hallway. I kept imagining Derek standing at my door with a knife. The note with my address sat on the counter like it was glowing in the dark. I couldn't stop staring at it. By morning, I had convinced myself I was overreacting. Maybe Derek just wanted to scare me. Maybe he'd crawl back into whatever hole he came from. So when Lauren texted asking if I'd meet her for coffee, I went. She looked worse than I did. Eyes red, hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped her latte. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't think he'd escalate like that." "Lauren," I said, rubbing my temples. He slashed my tires. "He knows where I live. This isn't just a jealous ex." She nodded miserably. "I've been filing reports for months." Restraining orders, police calls. They say he hasn't technically hurt me yet, so their hands are tied. That phrase, hasn't technically hurt me yet, made bile rise in my throat. I wanted to march to the nearest police station and throw the note in their faces. But when we did, two bored officers glanced at the paper, shrugged, and said, "Nothing we can do unless he trespasses again." I wanted to scream. Lauren started crying right there in front of the desk, begging them to listen. They handed her a pamphlet about domestic disputes and told us to call 911 if Derek actually did something. What were slashed tires and death threats then? A love letter? It only got worse from there. 2 nights later, Lauren came home to find her front door unlocked. She swore she'd double-checked it that morning. On her pillow was a tiny pink baby sock she'd never seen before. No note. No message. Just the sock. I'll never forget the way she looked when she showed it to me. Like her soul had been scraped out. The same week, Derek started showing up at my job. He never came inside, just leaned against his car across the street, staring at the construction site until I noticed him. Then he'd smirk and drive away. One day, when I got back from lunch, my boss called me into his office. "Listen, Ethan," he said, frowning. "I don't know what kind of drama you're involved in, but we got a complaint call about you. Some guy said you're unstable, violent, and stealing from the company." I felt like the floor dropped. "That's not true." He held up his hands. "I believe you. But keep your personal life out of work. Last thing we need is lawsuits." Derek wasn't just targeting me. He was trying to erase me. Meanwhile, Lauren's prenatal appointments started mysteriously getting canceled. She'd show up at the clinic only to be told her file showed she'd called and rescheduled. Except she hadn't. Someone was impersonating her on the phone. When she explained, the receptionist gave her that polite, condescending smile. The one that really means, "You're crazy." And if that wasn't enough, Derek started going after her friends. Her sister Emily found her car tires slashed outside the daycare where she worked. Lauren's best friend Kelsey got cornered at the gym by Derek, who loudly accused her of helping a liar keep him from his child. By the time Lauren got there, Kelsey was in tears and Derek was gone. At this point, every dinner conversation turned into panic planning. Should we move? Should we change numbers? Should we get a lawyer? But Derek was always one step ahead. The breaking point came one Friday night at Lauren's sister's house. We were eating pizza, trying to pretend life was normal, when a crash shattered the living room window. A brick lay on the carpet, glass everywhere. Taped to it was a photo, Lauren's ultrasound printout, ripped in half. Emily screamed. The baby kicked inside Lauren's belly, so hard she gasped. This time the police had no choice. They came, took fingerprints, even drove around looking for Derek's car. An officer finally muttered, "If we catch him, it'll stick this time." And they did catch him, 2 hours later, drunk in a parking lot. For the first time in weeks, I exhaled. But the relief didn't last. Because by morning, Derek was out on bail. And the first thing Lauren got was a text. "You can call the cops. You can play house with Ethan. Doesn't matter. The baby's still mine." That was when I realized something terrifying. Derek wasn't just trying to scare us. He was building towards something much bigger. When Derek texted that the baby was still his, something in me snapped. It wasn't an empty threat anymore. It was a declaration. He didn't just want to harass Lauren. He wanted ownership. Over her. Over Madison. Over me, even. A week later, a thick envelope showed up in Lauren's mailbox. She opened it at my apartment, her hands trembling so hard the papers almost slipped to the floor. It was a custody petition, filed in Denver County Court. Derek was suing for parental rights over a child who wasn't even born yet. Lauren burst into tears right there on my couch. How can he even do this? He's not the father. I picked up the paperwork. He knows that, but he also knows dragging us through court means power. The first hearing was like stepping into a nightmare. Derek walked in wearing a crisp suit, his beard neatly trimmed, looking every bit the concerned father he wanted the judge to see. Behind him were 2 lawyers, the kind that cost more per hour than my rent. When Lauren took the stand, she described the harassment, the slashed tires, the brick through Emily's window, the threats. Derek sat there shaking his head sadly, like poor delusional woman. His attorney objected, so often the judge barely let her finish a sentence. Then Derek testified. He spun this story about how Lauren was unstable, how she'd begged him to come back, how I was just some random rebound. At one point he even gestured at me and said, "Your Honor, This man is trying to steal my family. And the worst part? The judge actually ordered a DNA test to establish paternity once the child is born. Lauren clutched my hand in the hallway afterward, whispering, "He's winning, Ethan. He's turning everything upside down." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Derek smiling at me in that courtroom. My brain spun until I drifted into an old memory, one I hadn't thought about in years. I was 12 years old, sitting on the floor of my parents' kitchen in Aurora. My mom was crying at the table, a stack of bills spread out like weapons. My dad had just left after another screaming match about money. That night, I swore I'd never let anyone make my family feel powerless like that again. I didn't have control back then, but I do now. I wasn't about to let Derek destroy Lauren and Madison the way my dad destroyed my mom. When I woke up the next morning, the decision was clear. I wasn't just the fake boyfriend anymore. I was in this. For real. But Derek wasn't slowing down. He started an online smear campaign. Facebook posts, anonymous blogs, fake accounts, all claiming Lauren was mentally unstable, a party girl, even accusing her of drug use. He tagged her workplace, her relatives, even the local mom groups. One morning, Lauren's boss called her in. "We're not saying we believe it," he said awkwardly, "but the board is nervous. Clients are asking questions." Lauren came home shaking, convinced she was going to lose her job. And then came the birth. Lauren's due date was mid-December. We checked into Denver General around midnight after her contractions started. I held her hand through every wave of pain, trying to keep my panic in check. But at 3 a.m., as nurses rushed around the delivery room, a commotion erupted in the hallway. A man's voice yelling. Derek's voice. "Let me see my daughter. They can't keep me out." I froze. He was here, in the maternity ward. The hospital had already flagged his name thanks to Lauren's doctor, so security intervened, blocking him at the double doors. But he wasn't going quietly. He live-streamed himself pacing outside, ranting about how corrupt hospitals were stealing his child from him. Hundreds of people watched it live. Inside the room, Lauren was sobbing, terrified he'd burst through the doors any second. Nurses whispered nervously. I wanted to run out there and put my fist through his teeth, but all I could do was stand guard by the door and pray the locks held. At 4:12 a.m., Madison was born. Tiny, perfect, crying like her lungs could shatter glass. And outside the ward, Derek was still screaming. For one fragile moment, I looked at Madison's wrinkled face and thought, I would burn the whole world before I let him touch you. But deep down, I already knew Derek wasn't going to stop until he broke us. I knew I couldn't keep living like this, running from hotel to hotel, waiting for Travis to make his next move. So I did the only thing that made sense. I called him directly, finally ready to talk man to man. He said the second he picked up. His tone was mocking, like this was all some kind of game. "Meet me at Riverbend Park," I told him. 2 o'clock. Just you and me. He laughed. "Growing some guts, huh? Sure. Just come alone." Of course, he didn't come alone. At 2 o'clock, I was waiting at a picnic table in the middle of the park. Families were around, kids feeding ducks, joggers passing by. I thought maybe the public setting would keep things controlled. Travis showed up in his beat-up black truck, stepping out with his 2 usual shadows. "Insurance," he said casually, as they flanked him. He sat across from me. "Here's the deal, hero. You disappear. Stop playing house with Mia. Stop pretending to be Riley's dad. And I'll back off. She'll come back eventually. They always do when they need help with a baby." "And if I don't?" I asked. "Then things get worse." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Your parents' house in Millbrook? Cute white fence. Your sister, the teacher, 3rd graders, right? Be a shame if anything happened around them." My blood ran cold, but I stayed calm. I pulled out my phone and held it up. "You just threatened my family on tape." His 2 friends lunged for the phone, but I backed away fast. Park-goers had started to notice the commotion. A few parents pulled their kids closer. Travis's face turned red. "You think that recording means anything? I know judges. I know lawyers. I know how to play the system." "Maybe," I said, "but it's still evidence. And I've got plenty more." That night, I handed the recording to Detective Dalton. He listened twice, jaw tightening. Combined with everything else, the texts, the property damage, the harassment, this might finally be enough for felony stalking charges. "We'll arrest him in the morning." I didn't tell Mia yet. Didn't want to give her hope unless it was real. That night, we checked into a different hotel closer to town. Mia and Riley slept on the bed, while I stretched out on the floor by the door. I couldn't risk anything. Around 3 a.m., I heard it. A faint click at the adjoining door, the one connecting our room to the next. Then, slowly it opened. Travis stepped through, a knife in his hand. The same one Mia had used to cut cake at the baby shower. Mia screamed, clutching Riley to her chest. Travis charged for them. I tackled him from the side, and we crashed into the TV stand. The knife skittered across the floor. He was strong, trained, but I was bigger and angrier. We rolled across the carpet, fists flying, smashing into furniture. He got his hands around my throat, squeezing hard. My vision blurred. I kneed him in the stomach, breaking free. He scrambled for the knife again. That's when hotel security burst through the door. 3 guards piled onto him, dragging him off me as he screamed about his rights, about his baby, about how we'd stolen his life. Police arrived minutes later, but this time was different. Breaking and entering, assault with a deadly weapon, attempted kidnapping, and all of it caught on hotel security cameras. It's really over, Mia whispered as she gave her statement, holding Riley tight against her chest. He can't get bail for this. Detective Dalton nodded grimly. Not this time. This time, he stays locked up. The trial started 6 months later. By then, Madison was crawling, babbling, grabbing at anything shiny. Lauren sat in the courthouse lobby rocking her in a carrier while I paced the hallway like I was the one on trial. Travis walked in wearing an orange jumpsuit, shackles on his wrists. His swagger was gone, but his eyes still burned holes through me. Like if he stared hard enough, he could still win. The prosecutor laid everything out, the slashed tires, the threats, the break-ins, the knife attack at the hotel. Then came the part one didn't expect, other women. One after another, they took the stand. A woman from Colorado Springs, another from Pueblo, a third from Cheyenne. All of them told the same story. Charming Travis at first, then controlling, then violent. Each detail was a mirror of what Lauren and I had lived through. By the end of the week, the jury didn't even take 3 hours to return the verdict, guilty on all counts. Attempted kidnapping, stalking, assault with a deadly weapon, breaking and entering. The judge gave him 8 years. When he heard it, Travis actually laughed, like 8 years was a coffee break. I'll be out before she's in middle school, he shouted as deputies dragged him away. This isn't over. Lauren flinched so hard I grabbed her hand under the table. My chest was pounding, but I kept my face calm. I didn't want him to see my fear. The months that followed felt strange, like our lives had been stretched too tight for so long. We didn't know how to relax when the pressure snapped. Lauren jumped whenever the doorbell rang. I slept with a baseball bat under the bed. Sometimes, when Madison cried in the middle of the night, Lauren would scoop her up and whisper, "Shh, it's okay, Mommy's here. He can't hurt us," even though she was talking more to herself than to Madison. But slowly, we began to heal. One Saturday, on Madison's first birthday, I asked Lauren to marry me. We were at the same rec hall where I'd first been roped into pretending to be her boyfriend. Balloons and cupcakes again, but this time the laughter was real. Lauren burst into tears and said yes before I could even finish the question. We got married the following summer in a little white chapel outside Denver. Madison toddled down the aisle as our flower girl, throwing petals everywhere. For the first time, it felt like we were building a real family, not just surviving one man's obsession. A couple of years later, our son Caleb was born. Madison adored him, protective in a way only a big sister can be. Of course, Travis's shadow never fully disappeared. His mother tried suing for grandparent rights, claiming Lauren was alienating her family. The judge dismissed it in 10 minutes. Still, whenever parole hearings came up, we both felt that old fear creeping back. The what-ifs, the late-night pacing. But here's the truth I hold on to. Families aren't always built by blood. Sometimes they're built by choice. I didn't plan on becoming a father the night Lauren grabbed my arm at a baby shower. I didn't plan on fighting a sociopath in a hotel room, or testifying in court, or pacing hospital hallways while security held him back. But I did choose, over and over, to stay, to fight, to love. And when I tuck Madison and Caleb in at night, when Lauren curls up against me on the couch, when the house is quiet and safe, I know I'd make that same choice again. Every single time. Because in the end, I didn't just save Lauren and Madison. They saved me too.